Good morning, New York. So how great does it feel to be together again in one place with all the love, all the hugs, all the chatters, the laughs, the drums, the vibes? And what I felt this morning was not just the vibe from the big city, but it was the vibe from the Magento community. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, Krish, for organizing such a great event, the 8th Meet Magento New York event, which is very special this year because it's the largest in-person conference in the United States solely dedicated to Magento and Adobe Commerce. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the headline sponsors. And this event is so attractive. We had over 500 attendees coming from all over the US and the world. We lined up more than 40 brilliant speakers today and more than 25 sponsors. So to kick off this business track, so I'm Tinlan Weber, and I'll be your MC. I've been chosen because apparently I have an exotic accent. I'm coming from France, flew in yesterday, and I'll be with you the whole day until 5:30. So for those who like to be organized and know when to eat and to have breaks, we are having 4 sessions this morning, a lunch break for 1 hour, a bit more than 1 hour, and then 4 other sessions, afternoon tea, and 2 more sessions before the general speech. So to kick off this business track, we have our headline sponsor, Magento, featuring talking about Composable Commerce, and they flew in 2 high-profile speakers from the Netherlands. So ladies first, welcome Marion Freijsen. Thank you. So Marion comes with 25 years experience in IT internationally. She's seen it all. She worked at big firms. She worked merchant side, vendor side, in the US, UK, Netherlands, and she wrote 2 books.
Correct.
One about networking and one about entrepreneurship in the social age. So it's only natural that today she's a business advisor at Adobe looking after commerce strategy. And as a co-speaker, we have Ray Bogman. Who doesn't know Ray? Great. So everyone knows Ray. He's been with Magento since the early days. He's trained more than 1,000 Magento specialists. And I know from his Instagram account that in his spare time, he loves traveling, biking, hiking, motorbiking. And he's living his best life in a global role at Adobe as a senior global software support manager. Welcome, Ray and Marion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, much appreciated.
Okay, great. So, Ray, let's kick this off. Very quick introduction since it's already been done for us. My name is Marion Freijsen. I am indeed a strategic business advisor. I run commerce strategy across EMEA. And as such, I work with clients all over EMEA to devise strategies around their solutions and make sure that it is used in an optimal way. And with me, Ray. Ray, perhaps you can do a quick intro as well.
Yeah, thank you, Marion. So my name is Ray Bogman. As already mentioned, I'm responsible within support, within customer engineering, as a global role, making sure that we deliver the best software support out there for Adobe Commerce. Been around since 2008 within the Magento community. And actually, a funny fact, this is my 30th Meet Magento globally over the last 14 years. So it's really amazing to see so many great, beautiful guys over here and joining us on this Magento Adobe journey.
Superb, thank you. So this session is about Composable Commerce, and I'm glad to see that you're all here to learn more about it. It's an innovative marketing buzzword that we hear a lot from our clients. So we wanted to shed some light on what it really is, what it means. So over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we'll talk about 4 key themes. Where does composable commerce come from? What does it really mean, and what does it not entail? What you might already have in use, in fact, that is considered composable. How the setup can help your organization or your merchant organizations drive innovation. And last but not least, how that flexible approach can help you speed up e-commerce. At the end of the presentation, you should have we hope you have a clear understanding of what composable is and also what it is not, and how it can have a positive impact on your organization. So, as I said, Ray, the latest buzzword, composable commerce. I've heard customers mention it a lot, but perhaps you can dive in a little bit more.
Yeah.
But before we do that, we want to make this session interactive, so we've got a couple of questions throughout the presentation lined up for you. If you scan the QR code, you can use the menti.com to answer the questions that we're asking and participate. Use the code 8314819 when you enter your answer, and don't skip to the next question until we ask you to, otherwise you'll be sort of answering the wrong one. So let's see. First question. What do you think of when you hear the term composable? You can answer, you can give multiple words. Just go to menti.com, enter the code, and let's see what that drives.
Yeah, if we can maybe switch
To the answer.
Yeah, there we go, guys.
There we go.
Please submit all the questions. Really curious to see.
Yeah. Once people start answering, we should see the terms pop up on the screen in a little bubble.
It's always fun about technology.
There we go.
Everything prepared. There we go.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Okay. Keep adding all those questions.
Yeah, I love it. Modular, headless.
Modular, headless, API, buzzwords.
Flexibility.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Separate.
Lots of key terms we'll be covering.
Modular.
Right?
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Adapt to change. That's a good one. Love it. Okay. Modular, headless, they stand out.
Nice.
That's a funny one to see.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's wrap up. But thanks for sharing.
Yep.
Really appreciate
so modular,
it.
headless, and components really stick out, and we'll be covering all of these terms during the presentation. So, Ray, perhaps you can do one of your famous quick definitions.
Yeah, interesting one. Thanks you, Marion. So actually, and this is kind of funny, and everybody can see it already on the slide deck, actually it's just a marketing term, like we've probably seen around already for a while. But, just describing those series and elements, it's been around there for almost a decade maybe already. But looking at the term itself, it's a development approach, and I think that's something that we need to be close by. It's using those best-of-breed components and combining and composing them together for application business needs that are around us. So in general, it's just using all the best elements that are available and composing them together within our Adobe suite.
All right. And so, in short, I always like to say, connects anything to anything everywhere, right? So that's another way of looking at it. Ray, perhaps, one thing that everybody wants to know, what are the advantages of this approach,
I guess that's the most important,
Absolutely.
Otherwise the term itself will just be a buzzword, as we already mentioned. So with that, I think it's most important that continuous development, continuous deployment, those are some of the things that we are really looking to and also investing, and that will be one of those benefits out there. Rapid development of new features. I mean, having those components available and having our product team making those available on the fly, and maybe on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, new features will be available on those commerce components. Independently scalable, something, and we will definitely go into the cloud component later on, is that it scales automatically depending on the business needs on a global level. And I think that's really crucial. And not to forget the flexibility on the product sets itself. And lastly, but not least, and I think this is something that we all are curious about, but also really important, is the lower cost of ownership. While using those components, it will really impact the overall business, since less to no development functionality is needed in this behalf.
Yeah, sounds great. So as part of the whole composable commerce, we've all heard the term MAC, M-A-C-H, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Shall we try and dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. And it was kind of interesting to see that this morning, when Marcia kicked off, she already mentioned MAC already. It's like, oh, she's doing the pitch, which is a good thing, to lead up on. I mean, looking at the acronym itself, and the M probably, as it's pretty familiar, it stands for microservice, and you can see the slides already. A for API, C for cloud, and the H for headless. And it describes more or less a set of existing technologies, it's been around there, but then within a singular architecture. And bringing that to market, actually, and this is a funny thing, since I mentioned already, I've been the early days of Magento. It's been there since Magento 1 days. So not fairly new to that kind. And this may come as a surprise. So, but I think the crucial thing is, creating the best commerce experience out there. That's one of the key things that we are looking to get. And most important, the term itself, how we can see most clients using this. And to maybe to allude to that, it's important that this modular concept, as we use it, we want to apply that to all best practices.
Yeah, so really what customers do with it is far more important than the individual modules. As Ray said, it's been around for quite a while. And you'll hear us talk about these individual components now during the presentation. So first of all, let's look at microservices and dive into that a little bit more. Why are microservices so important in this setup, and what does it do for an organization?
Well, looking at the definition in general, microservices, those are individual pieces of business functionalities that are independently developed, deployed, and managed. I think that's one important thing. It's like breaking up an application into smaller chunks, smaller pieces of loosely coupled services. For instance, search, product recommendation, pricing, catalog, content, checkout, cards. Those are all modules that Adobe will make available over time.
Yeah, superb. So really little Lego blocks, if you like. Again.
I like that analogy. Yeah. Playing with Lego.
Yeah, we like colorful, as you can see. Yeah. So Lego is definitely our thing. So, and what about the key benefits of microservices?
I would say if it wouldn't have those benefits, we probably wouldn't be using it. So, to allude to that, I think rapid development is one of the things that we definitely see within the market, which is really important. Time to market, having those functionalities available, that's key. But also flexible scaling. You can imagine having Black Friday, Cyber Monday, having those instances and those services being fired up instantly, that's crucial. You don't want to maintain that. And we also support that, and that's really crucial. Looking at, TCO, we already touched that, but that's some of the things that we keep on pushing, making sure that those services are available and you don't need to reinvest anymore, since we are managing that from the Adobe standpoint. Best of breed, extensibility, and seamlessly combining, and that's something which is underrated, using them together with other different services. So it's really flexible, as we already mentioned, and that's key. But let's be really careful, and that's something that I want to make sure. It's great to use all those services, but it's not for everybody. So make sure from a business requirement perspective, they use the ones that make sense. I mean, overdoing it, and again, playing with Lego, you probably get a really great castle, but maybe it falls down. So make sure that the services that are available, make sure that those make sense for your business use case. And then, of course, leverage those best practices within the architecture with, I would say, the advice of a partner, or as Adobe can advise on that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a point perhaps to emphasize, that we're always here to work with you on devising the very best architecture for the merchant or the organization that you're with. And it's important to do so. Microservices can be used, it can be fantastic to use, but they have to be used in the right way. So I love that type of flexibility. Now, the question I get from a lot of my clients is, can we start small, or do we have to go all in with microservices? Does everything now have to be on microservices or not? So Ray, what do you think about that?
Well, from a point of view, it's kind of funny that you mentioned this. And I've seen sometimes merchants that go full throttle, use everything they can, but be aware of, what to use, what makes sense for your business case. Overdoing it can be maybe also being harmful. And that will not, I would say, lower down the total cost of ownership, because you really overdo it. So really make sure that you use those total core components that make sense for your business case, and based on that, start implementing that. And if it makes sense to add new services while you go, well, start using that. But again, please don't overdo it, because otherwise the total cost of ownership will go up and
Instead
doesn't
of
really
down.
benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We want it to go down. So that's great. Let's talk about the next acronym, APIs. I think everybody here has heard of APIs. So, but the key component of the whole Mac approach is API first. So, Ray,
Yeah.
definition, please.
Definition, well, I think it's pretty clear what we have here, but to summarize some of the things that are key within the API, it's connecting more or less computers programs together and making it much more efficient. For instance, using the Adobe Commerce or the Magento open source backend and connecting that into a front end. And that can be a headless or any other service, and using that API a software component in the middle helps us to communicate, and using technology within Adobe as GraphQL is definitely really speeding up the functionality and having multiple means to using that with the glass.
Yeah, and with that, again, I'd like to know what the impact is on a business going with the microservices combined with APIs.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's important that we see using those APIs and leveraging those functionality, we see flexibility, because it's ready to go, simplification. Definitely, I've seen from a developer standpoint, having those documented and available really helps them to start connecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, that leads to accelerated time to market. I think that's really crucial. And not to forget, having those APIs that really impact on scalability. Having multiple features, and we go into one of those acronyms definitely later, but that will definitely have a positive impact.
Yeah, so overall, the time to market, you'll hear us talk about this time and time again, and I think that's one of the key advantages of using this approach is time to market, which can greatly help scale, can greatly help launch brands faster for merchants using this type of approach. Ray?
Yeah. That's
next
key.
to the
well,
cloud.
Maybe, let's continue to the next piece of the puzzle, or the Lego block for that matter. I can imagine everybody's heard about the cloud. It's been around, everybody's using it, otherwise I guess we wouldn't be here. So, we need to host this somewhere, and I think that's something that really stands out. Having that cloud component, it increases the scalability, the flexibility, it decreases overhead. And having those microservices and that cloud component, hosting that together, of course, within the cloud, they really go hand in hand. The thing with the microservices is that it's been managed, definitely within Adobe, where cloud could be managed, depending, of course, on the resources, or could be on-prem, depending on the priority on that behalf. So I would say, let's start as simple as possible, and we see that a lot of merchants already have those two acronyms, like, the API and the cloud already available. So that really started off already.
With some of the component pieces. Yeah, absolutely. And definitely with cloud, of course, we take the onus out of having to run the cloud infrastructure on yourselves. So by hosting it, it's definitely, again, a reduction of cost and effort and development needed by the merchants.
Correct.
Then lastly, we have headless, which is the next piece of the puzzle. So, but before we do that, I'd like to know, and again, I refer back to your Menti page. Go to menti.com, type in the code, and answer who. It's a yes or no question, basically.
Pretty simple.
Have you heard of it? Have you not heard of it? So if you respond to the Menti page, just say yes or no. We would expect a lot of you to
100%.
have heard of
I would love that. That would be awesome.
100%. That's great. I hope everybody is answered. That would be an awesome showing here. But then click on the next button on the right-hand side of the page and Menti, and respond to the next question, which are you actually using headless already? So next slide, and then answer yes or no again. Are you already using headless? Just to see how well embedded it is in this group.
Okay, this is interesting. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Which is it's actually not bad, Ray. I mean,
I love this.
74%, that's pretty good. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to see
Wow.
it. 70% going down a little bit. few people dare say no.
I think we need to have a discussion with the ones that are doing 33. So let's meet up after this call and we can see what we can do.
Come and see us. So moving to headless. Again, Ray, one of your fabulous definitions. Why did you go for it?
Yeah, thank you, Marion. I think we had some definitions. Let's not go into that because everybody can read it. But more or less to summarize, the headless component, it's really the front of the application, the head, also known as the glass that we all look at when searching a website, an application, etc. So, and looking at that headless component, it's extensible in so many multiple ways. And I think that's something that looking, I would say, definitely from a Magento 1 now to Magento 2 perspective, or Adobe Commerce for that matter, it will have multiple angles, multiple front ends versus multiple sales channels, using technology as PWA, point of sales, kiosk mode. Interesting thing is even AEM, our own Adobe Experience Manager functionality, can connect to the Adobe Commerce backend. And to close the loop on some of the things, adding those microservices we already spoke about into that modular concepts really helps to speed up, flexible, lower the total cost of ownership. And that's something that's really key, definitely at this time of age.
Yeah, and that's great. And really what you're saying is that there are multiple heads possible at the same time, right? Connecting to the back end through.
Limitless.
So limitless front ends possible, depending on what the touch point is that you want with your customers. So we've talked about these acronyms. You've given us some semi-tech information as well as some non-technical information. But I'd like to bring that to life for our audience a little bit more. And you and I have worked on with many clients on providing our input and setting up the world according to these principles. So perhaps we can give an example.
I think that's a really good one. Getting it to life, it's crucial. Well, Marion and I, we worked on a really interesting use case some time back. A Middle Eastern customer serving lots of retail brands out there. And from the beginning, it was pretty clear that they wanted to go headless. And this was like 5 years ago already. And back in the day, headless wasn't that, I would say, supported as we have right now, but they started using Acquia Drupal as a front end, connecting that to the Adobe Commerce backend, still using some old API technology. Over time now, things have improved. And well, we are pretty proud over the last 2.5 years before we start doing different roles is that we were able to really exceed to the next level. Getting the front end updated, using modern types of APIs, scaling that within the cloud, and over time that grew to many, many, many markets.
Yeah.
And that's something definitely that helps them from a B2B perspective, but also B2B perspective to really be successful. And using that functionality are not only I would say the glass supported by Drupal, by Acquia, but they also started adding mobile applications, dedicated mobile applications, and using the same API technology, GraphQL, with that sense, and really doing that at scale from, I would say, even Tunisia up until Russia and the whole Middle Eastern region, just having that functionality in place.
Yeah, and it's a great example because we now support them in bringing their brands to life in a much faster term. So instead of taking months, it now takes weeks. So setting up the architecture is really important.
I think it's a key component.
Yeah.
And the architecture that we start using is a global reference architecture. And within Adobe Consulting Services, we really start leveraging the functionality on best practices use. Using a thin layer of the base component on top, some custom code functionality, and the icing on the cake was really, I would say, country-specific elements. Sometimes we call this also a 3-layer cake.
Yeah, that's an easy one to remember.
Yeah.
So basically working tightly together, the specific codes. And to summarize again, it's flexibility. It's easier to scale and much easier to maintain at a lower cost level. So all the things that organizations are looking for, particularly as we have to ramp up e-commerce even more these days and shape architectures built for future.
Well, I think it's crucial that it keeps the main easy, scalable, and maintainable, and that really leads at the end, using that GRA model, to lowering down the overall TCO cost.
Yeah. So you mentioned during the presentation up until now, Ray, the microservices such as payments.
Yeah.
Can you list a couple of others that we are making available from Adobe Commerce perspective?
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. I mean, looking right now, live search, that's one of the things. Product recommendation is out there. And we are definitely getting more and more. And I think I shared some of the components already early on. So that's definitely something that we are start supporting over time. One of the interesting things that I'm really happy about is the use of the app builder. Connecting throughout, again, the API layer, multiple services together. And the interesting thing about the app builder is even connecting third-party connections. So if there would be an ERP or PIM integration that you would like to connect within the Adobe ecosystem, now using the app builder integration is a key component that helps the merchant to rapidly increase the time to market and also lower down the overall TCO cost.
Yeah, and let's not forget, a lot of these components are AI, artificial intelligence based already, so that's one added aspect. And to bring it back to the merchant side, all of this really helps drive that customer experience. And that's really what the holy grail of e-commerce is, customer experience management. So this is all a setup that you can use to help that customer experience. Let's switch for a minute to the organization side. What is now the impact on the organization itself? Because I know a lot of merchants are always a little hesitant jumping in, really jumping into something new, not sure whether it's going to work out, things are going well. But we are saying basically this type of architecture will help you future-proof your e-commerce experience for customers. So how does that impact the organization?
True. I mean, with an organization standpoint, true. I mean, there will be new technology. I mean, some of the things have been around us for maybe more like a decade already, and there's new technologies like microservices. And what we always recommend, please start definitely implementing the ones that we have, because that makes sure from a business standpoint, and start working with the new technology and make sure that it really fits. And as I mentioned already in the beginning, don't overdo it, from day one. Always make sure with the partners and with the right support, we are using the best technology. And true, business and developers, they can really start focusing truly on the things that they need to focus on, while they can start focusing on the skills that they need for doing that.
Yeah, so they can build up their own skill sets, which is great. And then lastly, in terms of timelines, again, should companies wait and see, or should they jump?
Well, they shouldn't jump the hoop, I would say, but definitely start working. And there's technology, as we mentioned, live search, product recommendation. It's been there already for, I would say, almost 2 years. So it's proven knowledge. Some of the functionality that we start implementing, and we'll definitely go into that a little bit later, that will definitely help to see if it makes sense from a business use case.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to the next question. Are you already using some of these microservices, core modules that Adobe Commerce offers, such as live payments, live search, payments, product recommendations? Are you using any of these already?
Oh,
wow.
There we go.
Great. Product recommendation first. Nice. Live search, not so much
yet.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, as I said that, of course,
Yeah.
We jumped
it's
up.
ticking. Okay.
Nice.
Well, I think it's clear that we have a winner.
Yeah,
it's
product
really clear that we have a
really
winner.
glad to see it.
Okay.
So, but Ray, I hear there's a new kid in town, right?
Oh, yeah.
We are adding another microservice to this list. So talk to us about that.
There's definitely a new one.
Looks a bit complicated, this slide, but...
Not going to spend an hour on it. You only have one slide on it. But the really interesting one is definitely watch out for that, is that we have the catalog service ready. Currently, we have partners and merchants working together supporting this. And it's really going to be a really key component, speeding up that catalog, having dynamic prices available on the fly. So this will be something cutting edge. And actually, and it's kind of cool to see, this will be available early in Q4.
Yeah,
so it's just
really
around the corner to start leveraging. So if you want to have more news on that, please let me know after the talk, since I just heard that we need to speed up on some of the things.
We've got a few more minutes, but I'd like to invite any of you to join our beta program so that you do learn about these things early on. You can participate in the beta program, or you have your merchants participate in the beta program by scanning the QR code that just disappeared, but we can give it to you back later. So Ray, maybe very quickly,
Very quickly,
where did we
interesting
come
one.
from and
As we
where are we
already
going?
mentioned, it's been around, I would say, more than a decade. And the funny one actually is, and this is more my personal story, back in 2009, I started connecting back the company using a CMS called Joomla back to Magento. And maybe it was too early, to be honest, using that technology with that kind of service. But looking right now, more than a decade later, how things have improved over that time. So it's been around us, again, for a long, long while. Nothing's really that new.
Yeah, and I think that's important. These things are evolutions of things that we've already created in the past, right? It isn't completely new, but we are evolving all the time. At the end of the day, again, I'll drive it back to customer experience. We really like to impact customer experience in a positive way.
Yeah.
And we believe that
It's key.
it's key to start using some of these components. So we're always looking forward to this.
Well, and to wrap things up, and I think one of the 4 pillars that we still need to mention, performance, flexibility, scalability, and I think we already mentioned a couple of times, times to market.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that really stands out. So definitely make sure that you use the best-in-class services that are available with that.
Yeah, so thank you. I think this was great. I hope everybody enjoyed getting a little bit more into what is composable commerce or modular commerce, as you hear Adobe refer to it. Let me wrap up a couple of key takeaways. Composable is good. We believe modular is better because it really is about those individual components that you use as and when you want them. Key benefits, we've mentioned them a couple of times: flexibility, extensibility, scalability, and faster time to market, lowering total cost of ownership. And last, let us help you design the very best architecture. We're here to support in any manner that we can, provide more input and more answers. So thanks, Ray. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marion.
And thank you all for your participation on the Menti questions. Thank you.
And if you have any questions, please look
Come
at
and see us.
the red minions.
Thank you.
Dank je.